Up on Mountain News this morning, Pikeville Medical Center is helping fight the opioid epidemic with a new procedure. Plus, we will tell you the results of a new study on church attendance. And yesterday, members of Allen Baptist Church in Floyd County took the message of Jesus to the streets, literally.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6 o'clock on Friday, April the 19th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News this morning. It's a soggy start to your last day of the work week and the weekend, but no need to fear. Your Easter plans should not be ruined unless you're doing it on Saturday. Then they might be. But I won't bring you that bad news. Brandon will go deeper into depths on what to expect this weekend. But most importantly, right now, Brandon, what should people expect as they walk out their door on this Good Friday?
Make sure you take the umbrella because it's soggy this morning region-wide, so be very careful. Take it easy on those roads this morning. A lot of folks maybe half a day or off work today, but for those of you who are working and the kids going to school, be careful. Watch out for those school buses. We take a look at live pinpoint Doppler radar, and you see there we're tracking quite a bit of rain this morning across parts of the area. Zoom back in here a little bit closer to Middlesboro, Pineville, Harlan, seeing some heavier bands of rain move through there. Up toward Hazard, we're getting a pretty decent band right now as well. And then up into parts of the Big Sandy toward Magoffin County, Royalton, and over toward Salyerville, seeing some pretty good rain at this moment. Temperature still close to 70 in the Big Sandy, but down into the 50s and 60s across our region for the most part. Almanac today, 65 is the high. That was at midnight. 69 is the average, and 89 was the record set back on this day in 2002. Got to get some more coffee in me. I'll track the rest of that rain and have the rest of your forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, just one day after the Department of Justice charged dozens of medical professionals for their involvement in the illegal prescription and distribution of opioids, a historic grant was announced. $87 million is being awarded to the University of Kentucky's Center on Drug and Alcohol Research. The donation from the National Institutes of Health is the largest grant ever awarded to the university. The goal is to help reduce opioid overdose deaths in 16 counties in the Bluegrass.
The goal of the $87 million grant is to help reduce opioid overdose deaths in 16 counties in Kentucky, including 2 in eastern Kentucky, Knox and Floyd counties.
Family trees with branches breaking off. That's what it looks like. And why we need to address this is because it is affecting generations of people, and we've got to get this crisis under control.
The areas that are a part of this project reported more than 700 overdose deaths related to opioids just 2 years ago.
When OxyContin was big, we had a lot of overdose deaths. A lot of the OxyContin had changed to where they'd make it a gel. A lot of people would shoot it up or snort it up. Well, they finally made a gel where you couldn't do that. Finally, it's sort of obsolete. Now everybody's changed their drug to meth.
906. Young Edward Lincoln.
Sergeant Carl Frith has been in law enforcement for about 2 decades. He says many of the drug users who previously used opioids are now turning to meth.
95%. Every drug we deal with is most of the time meth. Yeah, we get very few pills. It's still there. They're still doing it, still selling prescription, but nothing like it used to be.
With that being said, he says opioids are still a problem here. With advancements in life-saving equipment like access to Narcan, he is seeing fewer overdose deaths.
I actually thought the guy was dead. His stomach was blue. He'd stopped breathing. I had a very, very low pulse on him. Gave him that through the nose. Within 1 minute, he was coming around talking to us.
The grant will improve and expand treatment, increase overdose training, and work to reduce the opioid supply. While optimistic, Sergeant Frith says this is a battle that is far from over.
Every day we fight it. Somewhere we fight it. We wish we could all just, snap our finger and it's gone, but it don't happen that way.
Working to fight substances that are tearing our families apart. It takes me about 2 hours.
Now, that was Just In Case reporting. There are currently more than 2 million Americans living with an addiction to opioids. Kentucky ranks 5th in the country in opioid overdose deaths. Well, following the opioid task force bust, we set out to find people who know how easy it is to find a doctor willing to prescribe opioids to someone who does not need them. Carl Varney had been down that road. Now he works for Operation Unite and is a youth pastor. He is telling his story to help shed light on the accessibility of pills and doctors who are willing to break the law to get people their fix.
if you can get it that way, not that it adds a legitimacy to it, but it does add a protection. As long as you had an MRI, as long as you had some x-rays that showed, a disc out of place, it didn't even have to be your MRI.
Varney says for most, it just takes asking for help to start the healing process. Pikeville Medical Center is helping fight the opioid epidemic with a new procedure. iovera is a non-opioid way to manage pain by treating peripheral nerves using a form of cryoablation. iovera freezes nerves to temporarily stop them from sending signals of pain to the brain. Orthopedic surgeon Kevin Pugh says the treatment will not take all of that pain away, but will decrease the narcotic dosage.
Even if it's 10 or 20%, and it could decrease narcotics by 10 or 20%, that's a big deal for the patient.
PMC is one of the few hospitals in the state offering iovera. The treatment does cause some pain, but doctors will numb the area before. The effects of iovera will last around 90 days. Well, while the political world continues to read over the lengthy Mueller report, President Trump is in Florida for a 3-day Easter weekend. Last night, he tweeted that he had the right to end the whole witch hunt and he could have fired everyone. As CBS's Natalie Brand reports, he tried.
This special counsel's 448-page report did not find evidence of coordination or conspiracy between Russia and the Trump campaign in 2016.
The president was frustrated and angered by his sincere belief that the investigation was undermining his presidency.
The report did, though, detail multiple attempts by President Trump to thwart the investigation, only to be rebuffed by his staff. One incident happened exactly 1 month into the probe, June 17, 2017. The president called former White House counsel Don McGahn twice and told him to have the special counsel fired. McGahn refused and considered resigning. The report states, quote, the president's efforts to influence the investigation were mostly unsuccessful, largely because the persons who surrounded the president declined to carry out orders.
This hoax.
At the White House Thursday, President Trump claimed victory.
I'm having a good day, too.
A much different reaction than when he first learned of Mueller's appointment. According to the report, the president slumped in his chair and said, quote, this is the end of my presidency. The special counsel did not make a decision on whether the president obstructed justice. It was Attorney General Barr who concluded the president had not. In a statement, Democratic leaders say the Mueller report appears to undercut that claim.
The Mueller report outlines disturbing evidence that President Trump engaged in obstruction of justice.
Republicans, though, insist the full report brings closure.
And I think generally people are ready to move on.
Mueller and Barr have been asked to testify in front of Congress in coming weeks. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Gray Television's chief national political analyst is weighing in on the report. Greta Van Susteren talked with us from Washington, D.C. She looked ahead to how this report could impact the upcoming presidential election.
I think everyone's calling wins. It's like when I was practicing law and you walk out of a courthouse, everybody claims victory, everyone claims a win, and then they turn around and use it as a weapon against the other person. So that doesn't surprise me. Politics doesn't even have the rules that law has. Politicians can pretty much get away with saying lots of things and ultimately it's the voters who hold them in check, but sometimes the voters don't.
Now, if you would like to look at the full report for yourself, we have it right now in this story on WYMT.com. Getting back into local news this morning, Boyd County deputies are investigating an identity theft scam that has already impacted at least one person. According to deputies, victims say a person claiming to be named Michael Taylor is calling about tickets and citations. On these calls, he asks for sensitive information like social security numbers, driver's license numbers, and dates of birth. Deputies remind you they will never ask for personal information on the phone. For more information, go to WYMT.com. A new Gallup poll study shows that the amount of people who are going to church is in serious decline. The pastor at Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Charleston, West Virginia, says membership at his church has tripled over the past 7 years. But that's not the case across most of the country. According to polls, the amount of people who attend church is at 50%, an all-time low. The pastor says there's no magic formula, but there are some tricks.
My children are millennials, and they are never going to have a subscription to a newspaper. So putting something in a newspaper is not going to reach them. But if I can deliver content to their smartphone, they might have a chance of reading it. So we are trying to move to leverage the communication medium that we have today. And
the percentage of people with no religious affiliation has also grown from 8% in 1999 to 19% today. Now, yesterday, members of Allen Baptist Church in Floyd County took the message of Jesus to the streets, literally. In preparation for their Easter production this weekend, church members wore their costumes in downtown Prestonsburg to invite locals to come out to see the Easter story. They say a little extra effort in getting the gospel out to the world goes a long way.
The story of Jesus is one that a lot of people know, but when you're reading it in a Bible, you kind of get lost in really trying to conceptualize and visualize what actually took place. And so the theater, the arts, and that has always been around to portray things in a way that we live in a society is so visual.
The production opens tonight at 7 p.m. and will continue nightly through Sunday.
Forecast this morning starting off soggy for your Good Friday. Let's take a look at that this morning. Satellite radar loop for the last 6 hours. Heavy bands of rain pulling into parts of southern and southeastern Kentucky. You can see it here on live pinpoint Doppler radar. A little closer look. Hazard down all the way toward the Tennessee border there into La Follette, all the way through Harrogate, all the way up through Harlan, and all southwest Virginia counties seeing some heavier bands of rain this morning. Temperatures dropping behind the cold front, 59. Somerset and Williamsburg, 65 here in Hazard, almost 70 in Ashland this morning. Visibility starting to be affected as well, so keep that in mind as you're traveling. The out-the-door forecast, take the rain gear. You'll need it off and on throughout the day because temperatures are slowly going to drop as well, getting into the upper 50s by 7 o'clock. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. More news is on your way. Still to come, today marks the 26th anniversary of the end of the siege in Waco, Texas. And another anniversary today, the Oklahoma City bombing happened 24 years ago on this date.